I had been asked to actually talk about a little bit on the job and the work that I did as part of Election Commission of India. Before I get on to this, by the way, Dr. Dilip Sundaram is our Dean of Alumni, Dean of Faculty Relations, and we actually made out a slide saying what are the kind of research that we are doing at IIT Gandhinagar. But before we get on to that, I thought I will actually talk about, and I must also admit this, my slides are highly configurable. Whenever she is going to press a bell, I will stop at that. That will be my last slide. So, many of you probably know that I have been part of Technical Committee of Election Commission of India. There are two committees, one committee which looks after the voting machines, hardware side, and another one which looks after the IT innovations that have been done. If you actually have been hearing a lot about summary role revisions, SIR in Patna, it is largely because the IT innovations and IT innovative things that have been done. I'm going to talk about some of those interesting things without talking about anything of politics, because that is something that I don't want to get into. I think I must say this, voting machines in India are possibly one of the largest electronics ever manufactured by a single entity, okay, and is also the largest public key cryptography implementation in the world, including finance sector. Our politicians will not talk about it, right? They have multiple reasons to not talk about it, but technically we must understand that this is the largest implementation of public key cryptography. Now, I'll tell you what does it do. Machine-wise, very simple machine. You press a button, it just keeps a counter, records it. Whenever you want to look at the results, you just say record, display results, and display the results. So functionally there is nothing, it's just a small calculator. But technically there are many things. Okay? First, it has to work in temperatures from -10 degrees centigrade to 70 degrees centigrade. It has to work in the sunshine, it has to work in the normal light, it has to work in no light. It has to work when there is no power, it has to work when there is power, and power is not clean. So we actually went around looking at various things, and I'm a security geek, let's say, and therefore we actually started looking at in what way we should actually design so that there is no way somebody can penetrate into it, right? And I must say this, so designs are actually all catered to that. There is, when we actually design the circuits and all that, these circuits go through, during the manufacturing, multiple steps. Everybody, whoever touches this machine during manufacturing or later, is automatically recorded, so therefore you will have always a history of whoever touched this machine. Right? Now this is not a small thing, because when we are talking of almost close to 3 million units, 3.5 million units, anything going anywhere, is like for example, if some place, some broke people snatch the voting machine and put it into the river, it is recorded that it is in the river. Technically it's a big challenge. I mean, what you hear in the newspaper versus what happens, it's a big challenge. Every machine has a unique identity, and a unique identity which is buried into the public key cryptography. Okay? Which means machine ever opens up or something happens, the machines have a mechanism, very strong mechanism for killing itself. The moment you open it, it after that cannot work. Full stop. I mean, you are only allowed to open certain things like plastic cover to insert a paper or something like that. But anytime you try to access electronics or anything, it kills itself. Only way it can be revived is it has to go back to the factory where many sophisticated tests have to be done, trust has to be built, And then only after that it is activated once again by another public key cryptographic key. So the old public key cryptographic key is gone. Machines are supposed to work unattended. You don't require a technical person to come and do anything. You just don't have those many people. If we are talking of 1 million polling booths, we can't have 1 million engineers sorting it out. Right? It's not possible. And therefore, machines are designed by choice to be 4 sigma. 4 sigma basically means that machine's failure rate should not exceed somewhere close to about 1.5%. This was the task that we set down to ourselves. Machines regularly go through a drop test of dropping it from 2 meters, and it is recorded and seen if there is anything. So, this is a remarkable feat of technology. There are sensors which have been put in the recently introduced VVPAT, voter verifiable paper audit trail. As you cast your vote, the paper slip is printed, you can see it, but you don't feel it. You can only see it. It gets cut right in front of you, it gets deposited into the box underneath, and you don't have an access. Nobody has an access, right? Now, what does that mean? It means this is a closed compartment and it has to work for the entire election day without any flaw. You go to a parking lot, these parking bills are there, right? I mean, you take a parking slip or whatever. If the printer is bad, doesn't matter, it will still work. Because somebody can open it and insert the paper, remove the paper get jammed, it can store, a paper slip is happening, all that. They actually have mechanism to handle it properly. Here, it is a closed system, it has to work every vote by every vote in exactly same way. And we have sensors that sense. For example, each voter slip is 99 mm, 9.9 centimeter. A slippage of 0.125 mm is detected, which means it cannot go beyond 99.125 or 98.875. It has to be only between them. If it fails, machine will declare that it is failing. But that's not the only thing. Machine will declare a failure, and then after it will stop, your election will get compromised for some time. It detects at least 3 hours in advance, saying machine is going into a failure mode. Please do something about it. Okay? These are the kind of sophisticated sensors. The print quality is measured for every printing. Okay? Every print quality is measured and check whether it is giving me correct thing or not. Machine is designed to adapt so that the print quality is going to be always remarkably clean. Nobody has ever come and said that paper printing did not happen correctly. We even tested these papers by keeping these papers for 5 years in almost like 35 degrees centigrade chamber, and said after that, at the end of it, does it lose the printing? If you take a parking slip or let's say DMart slip or anything, after 7 days you will not be able to read it. Right? Here 5 years later, kept at 35 degrees centigrade at various humidity factors, the paper is still readable at the end of it. Okay? Paper is also designed so that we can read it, we can count it by machines, except that those machines have not yet been approved by the political parties, and therefore anytime there is a counting that happens, it is done manually. But I must also say this, we have almost close to 2 crore votes manually counted till now. Okay? 2 crore votes have been manually counted with the machine and paper. You will be surprised how many failures you will imagine will happen. Any guesses? 5, 10, 500, 2000? None. 0. When we were drafting these standards, okay, political party we had consultation and people actually said, आप इसको लगा दीजिए 10% failure भी हम accept कर लेंगे. At that point in time we sat down and we said, we should have 0 error. 0 error. Okay? There is only one case in which case there can be one board error, which is well documented, and that is when paper is cut. Even though it appears cut, but it doesn't cut by a single thread, it remains. Paper doesn't fall. Machine will detect that and stop. But then after that, when it is carried to the from polling station to counting station, maybe that thread gives away and the paper goes down. That is the only time one extra vote will be there in this machine. But it will not be recorded electronically. So electronic record is always going to be there. At best, at worst rather, there can be only one extra vote in the printed thing. Okay? But it's well documented. Okay? And there are processes which say the machine was declared failure and therefore it can be always corroborated. So having said that, my aim is to actually give you a trust saying Indian EVMs are one of the best hardware that you will ever see. But my friends sometimes ask me, and they say, but why does the machine look so outdated? This kind of question comes to everybody. Mobile phones look so swanky and all that, but these machines look so bad and all that. And the reason again is a very conscious decision that was made that typically, and I can assure you even here, people are always scared of technology. Whenever you download a new app, it will take some time. So people say, create a technology which is going to be user-friendly. And this is primarily a user-friendliness that machine should look like that. There are several other projects that which I have worked, for example, voting machine I have already talked about. Now you can actually search your name and all that in the electoral records, national electoral records, all these things. You can file for various services. And along with this, we created something known as summary revision, where we actually did photograph checks and relatively looking duplicates, we can actually give this list and they can be verified physically. So all these things that you're seeing in Bihar election is actually outcome of that. But apart from that, I've also been involved in many other projects, for example, electronic toll collection on the highways. Again, it was designed right here in IIT Kanpur, and I moved to CDAC, and that's where we cementized that. And thanks to demonetization, when suddenly cash got sucked out of the system, this was the only technology that was a savior, and it immediately got implemented. It came with that velocity that even we had not thought of. And I can assure you, our technology, our specifications were designed so that it work flawlessly. But the way it is implemented right now, just to cut money, cost and all that, many times you'll find that I'm going somewhere and then the gate doesn't open. I have to go forward, backward a little bit and then it opens. It was not the original design. Okay. But anyway, now coming to this presentation, I will only talk about a few things, a few case studies of technologies. Yes. So only two case studies. One is this large language models. We actually, our people have used Indian resources. AI is there everywhere. Our people have used Indian resources. We don't have any Indian database in large language model for especially Indian Hindi and all that. Our people have actually worked with using Indian language resources and created what is known as Ganga 1B model. It's a 1 billion parameter large language model. Works pretty well. Those who want to try it on our website, it actually has an icon saying Ask AI at IIT Gandhinagar. You can actually test it out. So this is a very, very interesting development. And now it is being supported by National AI Mission also. And we are actually going to increase it further. Computer vision based intelligence system, some very interesting things, for example, traffic analysis, trying to figure out how many roads, how many vehicles are passing by and all that. Or in fact, for the matter, underground camera and a vehicle goes on top of it at the real velocity of vehicle, it can find out whether there is an explosive underneath or something which is not supposed to be there, and can also figure out which vehicle it is, right, by just image processing. Some of these things, for example, we work with, so this is under vehicle surveillance, we work with ECIL, and ECIL is using this now in parliament security and many other places. Okay. Cultural heritage preservation and restoration. 3D scanning and all that. So you don't have to really look at the artifact, but you can see visually and all that. And this is something that is actually again done. Drought monitoring and flood forecasting platform. This is basically work done by one of our faculty members, and in fact this work is now being supported in AI mission as well as the Center of Excellence in AI. IIT Kanpur Eravat Research Foundation is a consortium that has been set up, and IIT Gandhinagar, this particular project is doing a major thing. We have very large customers for this. Surat is our first case study, but I think people are saying we must actually do it for the research. Okay, this is my last slide since I have moved on. This is actually a hydrogen fuel cell or hydrogen-based power generation. This is for solar towers. So you just put this generation right onto the solar tower, and solar tower can be powered using hydrogen thing. And it is actually already being working with, so essentially you put methanol. From methanol, the hydrogen is separated, and that hydrogen is used to power the cell towers. Reliance is actually using that. In fact, using this technology, now we have actually launched one major project, and this is the last statement that I want to make. And that is, people actually in the morning were talking about demand-supply issue, demand gap, supply gap, and all that. Demand has always been non-linear, and therefore prediction is very important. But supply was more or less constant. But with renewable energy, supply is now unpredictable, and therefore this gap between demand and supply becomes even more unpredictable. So we said, rather than predicting it, we use AI to generate the power accordingly. So hydrogen-based generation has a very high response frequency, and also its efficiency remains more or less constant over 10% to 90%. So therefore we said, okay, can we actually use this hydrogen, let's say 200 kilowatt generator, I generate only 100 watt or 50 watt or 70 watt or 90 watt, and I can connect this on almost every few second basis based on this. So therefore I can give a profile of load and supply such that supply and load matches. Very interesting project. That's what we are working on with several bodies, with Gujarat Electricity Board and others, and I think we are going to show that sometime soon. Thank you very much.